First contact gone wrong. The quantum sensors aboard Research Station Copernicus picked up the signal at 3:47 Earth Standard Time. Dr. Sarah Mitchell stared at the reading, her coffee forgotten in her hand. After 3 years of listening to the void, they had finally found something that couldn't be explained away as background radiation or sensor ghosts. "Computer, verify signal pattern," she commanded, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The holographic display pulsed with a rhythmic sequence that defied natural occurrence. Signal verified. Pattern indicates artificial origin. Age estimate: approximately 47,000 years. Sarah's fingers flew across the haptic interface, initiating deep scan protocols that humanity had developed but never had cause to use. The Copernicus, humanity's most advanced deep space research station, hung in the darkness at the edge of explored space, its arrays of sensors and instruments probing the unknown. Captain Maya Chen of the U.S. Horizons, the station's protection detail, watched the data stream across her bridge display with growing concern. After 15 years in the United Earth Space Force, she had developed an instinct for trouble. This signal, as exciting as it was for the scientists, made her skin crawl. "Exeto Turner, bring us to condition yellow," she ordered, her dark eyes fixed on the sensor readings. "Something about this doesn't feel right." "Ma'am." Lieutenant Commander James Turner raised an eyebrow, but complied immediately. "The eggheads finally find something interesting, and you're going to rain on their parade." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Call it paranoia earned through experience. Anything powerful enough to broadcast for 47,000 years isn't just a message in a bottle." The station's excitement was palpable as research teams analyzed the signal. It carried complex mathematical sequences, spatial coordinates, and what appeared to be engineering schematics. Dr. Mitchell led the decryption efforts, her team working around the clock to understand what they had found. None of them noticed the subtle changes in the quantum field surrounding the station, not until it was almost too late. The first warning came from the Horizon's experimental quantum field detector, a piece of technology that most of the military brass had considered a waste of resources. Captain Chen had insisted on its installation, another decision born from that same paranoia that had served her so well. "Captain, QFD is showing massive distortions." The sensor officer's voice carried an edge of panic. "Multiple signatures, unlike anything in our database." Chen was already moving. "Battle stations, all hands to combat positions. Station Copernicus, this is Captain Chen. Begin emergency protocols immediately." The space around the station transformed as reality itself seemed to tear open. Massive vessels emerged from what looked like wounds in spacetime itself. They were organic in appearance, their surfaces rippling with patterns of light that hurt the human eye to observe. "What the hell are those?" Turner whispered. "First contact," Chen replied grimly. "And they didn't come to shake hands." The alien vessels moved with impossible grace, surrounding the station and the horizons in a complex three-dimensional pattern. A transmission burst across all frequencies, its language unlike anything human linguistics computers had ever encountered. Dr. Mitchell's voice came through the command channel, breathless with revelation and horror. "Captain, the signal, it wasn't a message. It was a trap. The mathematical sequences, they're actually a beacon designed to attract specific quantum signatures. We just rang the dinner bell." The alien ship struck without warning or ultimatum. Energy beams that seemed to bend space itself lashed out at the station's shields. The Horizon's defensive systems, the pride of human military technology, might as well have been tissue paper. "Return fire," Chen ordered, knowing it was futile but unwilling to go down without a fight. The Horizon's main guns blaze, their advanced projectiles simply passing through the alien vessels as if they weren't there. They're operating on a different dimensional phase. Mitchell's analysis came through, professional calm masking fear. "Our weapons can't touch them because they're not fully in our reality." Chen watched as the station's outer defenses began to fail. They had minutes, maybe less. Her mind raced through options, each more desperate than the last. Then she remembered something from her academy days, a theoretical paper that had been laughed out of peer review. "Dr. Mitchell, can you modify the signal? Make it broadcast on their frequency." There was a pause. "Yes, but..." "Do it. Turn their beacon into a hammer. Maximum power." Understanding dawned in Mitchell's voice. The dimensional resonance could tear them apart, but it would also. "Better than letting them take us intact. Do it." The next 60 seconds would be remembered in human history as the moment everything changed. As Dr. Mitchell reconfigured the alien signal, broadcasting it back at full power, the space around the station erupted in quantum chaos. The alien vessels began to destabilize, their elegant forms twisting as dimensional forces tore at them. But they managed one final attack. A beam of impossible energy struck the Horizon's engineering section, igniting the quantum core. Captain Chen had time for one final order. "Get that signal to Earth. Tell them we're not alone, and we're not ready." The explosion of the Horizon's core created a quantum shockwave that destroyed everything within a 1,000,000-kilometer radius. When Earth's rescue fleet arrived 2 weeks later, they found only debris and encrypted logs. The war had begun, and humanity's first encounter with the beings they would come to know as the Nexus Collective had ended in mutual destruction. But in those final moments, humanity had learned 2 crucial lessons. They were not alone in the universe, and they could hurt the untouchable. Earth's response would shake the foundations of the galaxy. The counterstrike. Admiral Helena Blackwood stood in the cavernous underground facility beneath the Olympus Mons colony on Mars, watching as engineers swarmed over humanity's response to the Nexus Collective. Project Prometheus wasn't just a warship. It was humanity's declaration that they wouldn't go quietly into the dark. "The quantum core readings are stable, Admiral," Dr. Victor Raman reported, his holographic avatar flickering beside her. As head of the Prometheus initiative, he had refused to evacuate Earth when the second Nexus incursion began. "We've successfully integrated the phase shift technology reverse-engineered from the Copernicus data." The ship before them resembled no vessel ever built by human hands. Its hull was a matrix of crystalline structures and dark metal alloys, designed to exist partially out of phase with normal spacetime. The entire vessel pulsed with a subtle blue light, like a heartbeat. "And the neural interface?" Blackwood asked, her weathered face reflecting in the polished surface of the observation window. "Ready for integration, though I still have concerns about the psychological impact on the crew." Blackwood's lips tightened. The neural interface was perhaps the most controversial aspect of Project Prometheus. It would link the crew's minds directly with the ship's systems, allowing them to process and react to higher dimensional combat at speeds possible only through direct neural connection. "The volunteers understand the risks," she said firmly. "After what happened to the Copernicus and the Horizons, we're out of options for conventional warfare." The facility's warning klaxons suddenly blared to life. A young lieutenant burst into the observation room, face pale. "Admiral, Nexus vessels detected entering the solar system. 3 carrier-class ships, approaching from the Kuiper Belt." Blackwood straightened her uniform. "Time to test our theories, Doctor. How soon can Prometheus be ready for launch?" "We need at least 48 hours for final calibrations. You have 20 minutes. Sound general quarters." The next quarter hour was controlled chaos as the prototype vessel's crew rushed to their stations. Captain Diana Santos, selected from thousands of candidates for her exceptional neural plasticity, stood on the bridge of humanity's most advanced warship. Neural interface initialization beginning. The ship's AI announced, its voice a calm counterpoint to the tension filling the bridge. "All crew members, please prepare for synchronization." Santos felt the familiar tickle at the base of her skull as the interface activated. But this was different from the training simulations. The ship felt alive, its systems extending into her consciousness like new limbs she hadn't known she possessed. Around her, the bridge crew gasped and swayed as they experienced the same sensation. Humanity had dabbled in neural interfaces before, but nothing like this. The Prometheus wasn't just a ship they would pilot. It was becoming an extension of their collective consciousness. Neural sync complete, the AI reported. All systems nominal. Quantum core stable at 89% capacity. Santos opened eyes that now saw far more than visible light. Through the ship's sensors, she could perceive the approaching Nexus vessels, their higher dimensional signatures blazing like dark stars against the fabric of space-time. Prometheus actual to command, she transmitted. We are ready for launch. Admiral Blackwood's voice came through with crystal clarity. You have authorization to engage. Show them what humanity can do when pushed to the edge. Godspeed, Captain. The massive launch doors above the facility began to open, revealing the rust-red Martian sky. Prometheus rose on columns of blue fire, its revolutionary engines barely whispering despite the enormous power they channeled. As they cleared Mars' atmosphere, Santos felt the ship's full capabilities unlock. Through the neural interface, she could sense every system, every weapon, every possibility. The quantum core hummed with potential, ready to tear holes in reality itself. Multiple Nexus signatures detected, her tactical officer reported, the neural link allowing him to process sensor data at unprecedented speeds. They're launching attack craft. Dimensional phase shift detected. Santos smiled grimly. Not this time. Enable phase matching. Weapons free. Prometheus shifted, its crystalline hull resonating with the same dimensional frequency as the Nexus vessels. For the first time, humanity could fight them on their own terms. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for centuries to come. Prometheus danced through space in ways that defied conventional physics, its neural-linked crew reacting with impossible speed and coordination. When the Nexus ships fired their reality-warping weapons, Prometheus matched their phase and returned fire with weapons specifically designed to disrupt their dimensional stability. Target locked, Santos announced through the neural net. Executing attack pattern Delta. Prometheus split into multiple quantum states simultaneously, existing in several possible realities at once. The Nexus vessels, unable to determine which version was real, found their adaptive defenses overwhelmed. The prototype ship's main weapon, dubbed the Possibility Cannon, fired streams of accelerated quantum particles that carried multiple potential states. When they struck the Nexus vessels, they forced quantum collapse, causing sections of the alien ships to phase into different realities. The first carrier-class ship died spectacularly, its elegant form literally tearing itself apart across multiple dimensions. The second fell quickly after, unable to adapt to weapons that used its own dimensional manipulation against it. But the third had learned. It launched a massive counterattack, filling space with weapons fire that existed in all possible states simultaneously. Even with their neural interfaces, the crew struggled to process the assault. Hull breach on Deck 4, engineering reported. Quantum core stability dropping to 64%. Santos gritted her teeth, feeling the ship's pain through the neural link. Redirect power to the phase shields. Prepare for close-range engagement. What followed was either brilliant tactics or suicidal madness, perhaps both. Santos ordered Prometheus to match phase exactly with the Nexus vessel, bringing them so close their quantum fields began to interfere with each other. Fire possibility cannons point-blank into their core, she commanded. Let's see how they handle quantum superposition at zero range. The resulting explosion created a temporary quantum singularity that swallowed both ships for a terrifying moment. When reality stabilized, Prometheus emerged scared but victorious. The Nexus carrier had been reduced to quantum fragments scattered across multiple dimensions. As damage reports flooded in and the adrenaline began to fade, Santos allowed herself a moment of fierce pride. Humanity had proven it could not only fight back, but win against an enemy that had seemed invincible. Prometheus actual to command, she transmitted. Threat neutralized. Requesting permission to return to base for repairs and analysis. Admiral Blackwood's response carried the weight of history. Well done, Captain, But this was just the beginning. The Nexus Collective will be back, and next time they'll be ready for what we can do. Then we'll just have to show them something new, Santos replied, already thinking about the possibilities the neural interface had revealed. That's what humans do best. As Prometheus limped back to Mars, its crew knew they had changed the course of the war. Humanity had taken its first real step into a larger universe, proving that determination and ingenuity could overcome even the most advanced alien technology. The question now was, what would the Nexus Collective do in response? The hidden advantage. In the sterile confines of Luna Base's quantum research facility, Dr. Aisha Patel stared at her test results with a mixture of disbelief and excitement. After 3 months of studying neural patterns from Prometheus's crew, she had discovered something extraordinary. Run the simulation again, she ordered the AI. Focus on the quantum entanglement patterns during peak neural synchronization. The holographic display erupted with cascading waves of data. Human neural patterns, when linked through the ship's interface, created unique quantum signatures that the Nexus Collective couldn't predict or control. More importantly, these patterns seemed to actively disrupt the aliens' hive-mind communication. Dr. Raman needs to see this immediately, she muttered, compiling her findings. But before she could transmit the data, the facility's alerts blared. Multiple dimensional rifts detected, the base AI announced. Nexus signatures confirmed. This is not a drill. Through the reinforced windows, Aisha watched as space itself seemed to tear open. But these rifts were different, smaller, more precise. Instead of warships, single figures emerged, bictal forms that shimmered with otherworldly energy. They've developed personal phase shift technology, she realized with horror. The Nexus had adapted faster than anyone expected. Security teams rushed to confront the intruders, but conventional weapons passed harmlessly through their phase-shifted forms. The aliens moved with terrible purpose, heading straight for the research section. Aisha locked down her lab and initiated emergency protocols, but she knew it wouldn't hold them for long. Then she heard something unexpected. Gunfire that actually seemed to affect the intruders. Commander Jack Harper and his special operations team burst through the emergency doors, wielding prototype weapons reverse-engineered from Prometheus's technology. Their neural implants, smaller versions of the ship's interface, allowed them to perceive and target the phase-shifted aliens. Dr. Patel, Harper called out, his cybernetic eye glowing as it tracked targets. Time to go. We have orders to get you and your research to safety. The aliens attacked with weapons that distorted local space-time, but Harper's team moved with augmented speed and precision. Their neural implants gave them split-second advantages, allowing them to predict and counter the Nexus being's fourth-dimensional movements. The data, Aisha insisted, grabbing her quantum storage device. They can't get it. It shows. Tell me later, Harper interrupted, firing a burst that caught an alien mid-phase shift, causing its form to collapse in on itself. Right now, we need to reach the evacuation point. They fought their way through corridors where reality itself seemed uncertain. The Nexus intruders could walk through walls and appear from impossible angles, but Harper's team used their neural implants to track the quantum distortions that preceded each appearance. As they reached the evacuation pods, Aisha finally understood why she had been assigned such heavy protection. Her discovery wasn't just about defense, it was the key to humanity's survival. Commander, she said as they sealed themselves into the pod. Human consciousness. It's naturally quantum entangled in ways the Nexus can't replicate. That's why their attempts to control human minds fail. We're not just fighting them with technology anymore. Harper nodded grimly as the pod launched. That's why they sent infiltrators instead of ships. They're afraid of what we're becoming. The evacuation pod rocketed away from Luna Base just as multiple Nexus carriers emerged from dimensional rifts. But instead of pursuing, they began a systematic bombardment of the facility. They're trying to destroy the research, Aisha realized. But they're too late. Earth's defensive fleet emerged from hidden positions around the moon, led by Prometheus, and 2 new ships of the same class, Hyperion and Helios. The neural-linked crews engaged the Nexus fleet in a battle that bent space and probability. Aboard Prometheus, Captain Santos felt the difference in this fight. The Nexus ships moved with desperate aggression, as if driven by fear rather than tactical necessity. "They know," she transmitted to the other ships. "Execute Protocol Omega. Let's show them why they're right to be afraid." The 3 human vessels synchronized their quantum cores, creating a cascading resonance that amplified their crew's neural patterns. The effect rippled through spacetime, disrupting the Nexus fleet's hive mind coordination. For the first time, the alien ships moved erratically, their perfect synchronization shattered by the quantum interference of thousands of linked human minds. In the evacuation pod, Aisha watched the battle through the tactical display. The neural link. "It's not just for controlling our ships. It's making us evolve." "Into what?" Harper asked. "Something new," she replied softly. "Something they never expected when they first attacked us. Humanity is becoming a quantum-aware species." The battle ended with the Nexus fleet retreating through dimensional rifts, leaving behind debris that shifted between realities. But everyone knew this was just another beginning. In the aftermath, Admiral Blackwood convened an emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council. Dr. Petal presented her findings to a stunned audience. "The Nexus Collective isn't just fighting us for territory or resources," she explained. "They're fighting to prevent our evolution. Each time we use the neural interfaces, human consciousness becomes more entangled with quantum reality. We're gaining abilities they thought were impossible for lesser species." "Can we weaponize this?" someone asked. "We already are," Dr. Rahman replied, joining the discussion. "The next generation of ships won't just be neural-linked. They'll be true extensions of human consciousness, capable of manipulating reality in ways even the Nexus hasn't mastered." Admiral Blackwood studied the projections with a thoughtful expression. "They tried to destroy us because they saw us as primitive. Instead, they forced us to become something more. Prepare Operation Stardust for immediate implementation. It's time to take the fight to them." As the meeting concluded, Dr. Petal returned to her new lab aboard Hyperion. The ship's quantum core hummed in harmony with her thoughts, a constant reminder of humanity's transformation. The Nexus Collective had intended to subjugate a primitive species. Instead, they had become midwives to humanity's next evolutionary step. The war was far from over, but for the first time, the future held more promise than threat. Humanity was changing, and the galaxy would never be the same. "They're considering our proposal," Santos reported, her consciousness brushing against the edges of the collective mind. I think we shocked them. They never imagined a species could reach this level of development while maintaining individual identity." Through the neural link, every human participant felt the moment the Nexus reached their decision. It came not as words or thoughts, but as a shifting of reality itself. The crystalline nurseries began to change, their structures reorganizing into patterns that accommodated both collective and individual consciousness. The Nexus were adapting, not to defeat humanity, but to learn from them. "They're offering an exchange," Paddle translated, her enhanced mind decoding the complex quantum signals. "Their knowledge of dimensional engineering for our understanding of individual quantum consciousness. They want to remember who they were." Admiral Blackwood smiled for the first time since the operation began. "Tell them we accept. Operation Stardust is now shifting to Phase 2, reconstruction and cooperation." As the human fleet stood down from combat status, a new chapter in galactic history began. The Nexus Collective had sought to prevent humanity from following their path to dimensional ascension. Instead, humanity had shown them a different way forward. The war ended not with the destruction of either side, but with the beginning of an unprecedented collaboration. Human consciousness, naturally quantum-entangled yet fiercely individual, would help guide the Nexus back to their lost identity. In return, the Collective's mastery of dimensional engineering would help humanity expand safely into higher planes of existence. Operation Stardust, planned as a military strike, had become the first step toward a transformation neither species had imagined possible. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what both sides needed. "They're considering our proposal," Santos reported, her consciousness brushing against the edges of the collective mind. I think we shocked them. They never imagined a species could reach this level of development while maintaining individual identity." Through the neural link, every human participant felt the moment the Nexus reached their decision. It came not as words or thoughts, but as a shifting of reality itself. The crystalline nurseries began to change, their structures reorganizing into patterns that accommodated both collective and individual consciousness. The Nexus were adapting, not to defeat humanity, but to learn from them. "They're offering an exchange," Paddle translated, her enhanced mind decoding the complex quantum signals. "Their knowledge of dimensional engineering for our understanding of individual quantum consciousness. They want to remember who they were." Admiral Blackwood smiled for the first time since the operation began. "Tell them we accept." Operation Stardust is now shifting to Phase 2, reconstruction and cooperation. As the human fleet stood down from combat status, a new chapter in galactic history began. The Nexus Collective had sought to prevent humanity from following their path to dimensional ascension. Instead, humanity had shown them a different way forward. The war ended not with the destruction of either side, but with the beginning of an unprecedented collaboration. Human consciousness, naturally quantum-entangled yet fiercely individual, would help guide the Nexus back to their lost identity. In return, the collective's mastery of dimensional engineering would help humanity expand safely into higher planes of existence. Operation Stardust, planned as a military strike, had become the first step toward a transformation neither species had imagined possible. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what both sides needed. Humanity's promise. 5 years after Operation Stardust, the Ganymede Research Complex buzzed with activity. The massive installation, jointly operated by humans and the reformed Nexus Collective, represented everything both species had achieved together. Dr. Aisha Patel stood before a window that overlooked Jupiter's largest moon, her neural implants letting her perceive the quantum lattice that now connected human and Nexus consciousness across the solar system. Beside her, a Nexus entity named Unity through division manifested in its preferred form, a crystalline structure that shifted between dimensional states. The latest trials exceed expectations. Unity communicated directly through the quantum network. Human neural patterns continue to stabilize our individual consciousness restoration process. Aisha nodded, remembering how far they'd come. The Nexus had spent millennia as a pure collective, losing their sense of self in pursuit of dimensional transcendence. Humanity's unique form of quantum consciousness, simultaneously individual and connected, had shown them another path. Admiral Blackwood's arrival confirmed for the demonstration. She asked, though she could sense the answer through the network. Affirmative. The first full consciousness transfer will proceed as scheduled. In the facility's central chamber, Captain Diana Santos prepared for humanity's next evolutionary step. After years of neural interface experience with Prometheus, she had volunteered to be the first human to attempt full quantum integration while maintaining individual identity. Commander Harper's security team maintained a careful watch, their evolved neural implants scanning multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. Though the war was long over, old habits died hard. "All systems nominal," Dr. Raman announced, his holographic presence flickering between stations. "Quantum matrix stable. Neural pathways aligned." Admiral Blackwood entered the observation deck, her uniform still crisp despite her advanced age. The years since Operation Stardust had left their mark, but her eyes remained sharp and focused. "Are we sure about this?" she asked, though it was more reflection than doubt. "Humanity has always pushed boundaries," Santos replied from the integration chamber. "This is just the next frontier." The procedure began. Through the facility's neural network, every participant could sense the delicate process of Santos's consciousness expanding into quantum space. Unlike the Nexus' original transformation, this was not a surrender of individuality, but an enhancement of it. Quantum state stabilizing, Raman reported. Consciousness patterns maintaining coherence across all observed dimensions. Santos felt her awareness expand beyond normal spacetime. She could perceive the quantum foam of reality itself, see the probability waves that defined existence. But unlike the Nexus's collective consciousness, she remained distinctly herself. Integration successful, she announced, her voice resonating through both conventional and quantum channels. I can see everything, but I'm still me. Unity through division, pulsed with what Aisha had learned to recognize as excitement. This confirms our theories. Consciousness can evolve beyond physical limitations without sacrificing individual identity. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not only avoided the Nexus's mistake of losing themselves in collective consciousness, but had found a way to achieve dimensional transcendence while maintaining their essential nature. Begin Phase 2, Blackwood ordered. Across the solar system, other facilities began implementing the new protocols. The quantum network that connected humanity expanded, not by subsuming individual consciousness, but by enhancing it. Each person who joined the network became more than they were while remaining uniquely themselves. Through their shared connection, Aisha felt the moment the Nexus Collective began to change as well. Individual consciousness sparked within their unified mind like stars being born in the cosmic void. We remember, unity transmitted, its message carrying echoes of newly rediscovered identity. We remember who we were, who we can be again. The transformation spread across space and dimensions. The Nexus Collective, guided by human example, began to rediscover individuality without losing their advanced capabilities. Humanity, in turn, expanded their consciousness into higher dimensions while preserving their distinct selves. In Earth's Quantum Communication Center, Dr. Paddle received the first messages from other galaxies. The signal that had once lured humanity into first contact had been answered by other emerging civilizations. But now, instead of a trap, it offered an invitation to join a new kind of community. We should respond, Santos suggested, her enhanced consciousness easily spanning the distance between Ganymede and Earth. Admiral Blackwood agreed. Send them our story. Show them there's a path between isolation and absorption. Show them humanity's promise. The message they sent carried more than information. It carried hope. Hope that consciousness could evolve without being lost. That civilization could advance without sacrificing what made it unique. That the universe was vast enough for both individual glory and collective achievement. In the quantum network that now spanned known space, human and Nexus consciousness danced together in a complex harmony. They had found balance between unity and diversity, between advancement and preservation of self. The war that had begun with an attempt to subjugate humanity had ended with a transformation either side had imagined possible. The galaxy had learned that evolution didn't have to mean loss, that transcendence didn't require sacrifice of self. And at the heart of this new reality was humanity's greatest gift to the universe. The proof that you could touch the infinite without losing what made you finite, that you could reach for the stars without letting go of your soul. As new civilizations made contact and joined the growing quantum network, they found not conquerors or a faceless collective, but a community of distinct voices sharing a greater consciousness. The future stretched out before them, infinite in its possibilities yet anchored in individual identity. Humanity had kept its promise, to itself, to the universe, and to the future. They had shown that the path forward didn't require choosing between advancement and identity. You could have both. You could be both. And in that truth lay the real victory, greater than any battle won or technology mastered. The victory of remaining human while becoming something more. The stars welcomed them, not as conquerors or subjects, but as themselves. Individual, connected, human, forever.